just turned in the final decree. I'm, male 31, still upset about everything. I'm sitting outside the courtroom after submitting the final divorce decree. My unfaithful wife, female 30, stopped by my workplace last Wednesday so I could have her sign the final paperwork. And despite the fact that we were busy, my brother and I own a shop, I had her come to the back to sign the paperwork. She was reading it as I was performing some jobs in the rear, and then I saw she was on the last page, gazing at it and staring at me. She's not simply gazing. She has a light well-up of tears and seems to be begging. It irritates me. I advise her not to do it, and to either sign it or not sign it. She glances at me, opens and shuts her lips. I become irritated and tell her to say anything she wants to say, but not to act like this. That she's dating other people, yuking other people, and hasn't shown any desire to repair our relationship. She signs and goes away, her head down. I had to track her down in order to question her about our stimulus, and I wind up in her vehicle for a second. She inquires about our kid, who is not my blood relative, but I've been there for him since he was 4 years old, and myself, as well as whether or not we communicate. I tell her that despite saying hello in the morning and attempting to strike up a conversation, he doesn't actually speak to me. She only shakes her head and seems depressed. I tell her gently that I'm giving her this one chance to say anything she wants, and she simply looks at me. I am enraged and tell her she never loved me in the first place. She's crying as she insists it's not true, and I tell her that if she really loved me, she wouldn't have dreamed of cheating. That I was hers, and each time I've been alone or approached and hit on, I've gently rejected, indicated that my wife wouldn't enjoy it, and walked away, and I've never considered cheating, ever. I urged her to call me when she had my money and that I wished I had known. To the court is just so impersonal, but I realize that safety comes first, then collaboration. It doesn't feel genuine. I mean, I can obtain a copy of the signed papers and claim I'm divorced and all that, but it doesn't feel or haven't really struck me. My few friends have asked if I'd like to go out and celebrate. They're not being snobbish or resentful about it. They just want to be there for me, which is good. I just don't know how to proceed. I know I should feel liberated, or else I'll start crying again. Surprisingly, all I want to hear is my wife's voice. But I don't have a wife anymore. Just some stranger who wears her face and sounds like her. I can feel tears welling up in my eyes, but they are resigned ones. I'm here, it's just me. Oh, and there's my dog. Yes, I have a lovely and fantastic family. And I only have a few friends, but they are the finest, so I am well supported. I simply feel empty, exhausted, and drained. I'm not sure what my next move should be. Call my kid. She didn't love me in the first place, since it would have spared me the time, effort, and heartache of marrying and loving her. It's killing me, and the hearing to end it all is tomorrow. I'm mending, and I'm rediscovering delight in things I used to like, such as exercise. I'm looking better and receiving more attention from ladies, which is wonderful, but I can't seem to find the motivation to speak to them or go on a date with them. My heart still desires her. My heart still has feelings for her, and I wish I could pull it out and bury it forever. I know it's important to go through the emotions, work through them, and accept this new existence, but I'm simply having a hard time doing it. I'm sure all of this coming to an end is simply pushing all of these emotions to the surface. Update. I'm here today. Single. Most certainly in shock. I'm not sure what I'm feeling other than a huge pit in my stomach. She was aware of the time I was leaving for the hearing. I feel like a Zoom call and tell him what happened. Say screw it all and travel to Italy to look at properties. Return to Vegas for a desert refresh with old friends. Just lying here in solitude and looking at the ceiling seems like exactly what I want to do. But life must carry on, and so must I. Update too. I'm still screwed up inside, and it's really affecting me right now. My ex-wife, crazy to spell it out, and I were both on our way to work. We both came to a halt at the same crossroads. I was about to turn left under the bridge, and she was going to turn right to go back on the motorway I had just off. My heart and stomach sprang with the same exhilarating metal butterflies, ripping into my insides in the same old exciting and lately horrifying ways. We exchanged glances until the light changed, at which point we parted ways. I can't think of a more suitable way for things to be, both physically and metaphorically, yet here I am typing out my sorrow, still experiencing the desire, grief, anger, disappointment, nausea, and a slew of other depression-inducing feelings. I only want I could feel indifference for the love of God. This deeply ingrained love that I wish I could tear out, root and all. Her and her nonsense justifications. Being in love with her because it's precisely what I don't want to feel, but it is. I get the nicest dreams about her, and they've never been more vivid lately. Her perfume, her warmth, the sensation of her hair brushing against my skin and mingling with my beard, the sensation of her soft flesh on my naked chest, the beat of her heart against my arms as I held her in the dark. I'm sorry she's left such an impression on me when it was so simple for her to demolish all we'd achieved together. Yes, I realize it's over. Yes, I understand that the emotion may never go gone. Yes, I understand that processing the trauma will take time. I'm weary of processing, of letting the anguish flow, of sobbing, of telling myself that it's acceptable to be beyond not okay. I miss feeling balanced. Every day seems like I'm standing on a platform while balancing a stupid barrel. Some days, everything is okay, I got this, balance can be kept, and I've been doing it for almost 8 months, so I should be accustomed to it. Other days, it's as if I can't find any respite from the agony of betrayal and tumbling off the dumb platform because balance is a shambles right now. We can clearly tell what type of day it was. Isn't it true that everything always gets worse before it gets better? I despise platitudes. Update 3. I went to our son's middle school soccer game yesterday, and seeing him and how much he has changed and how big he is, he'll be 14 in November, simply filled my heart with delight and excitement. He's so tall and his voice is cracking, and it's weird not to have seen it personally. I didn't see my ex-wife until around halftime, when a peculiar sense like I was being watched came over me in the bleachers, and I turned and locked eyes with her. She was seated next to her parents. They unfortunately lost the game, but they still rocked it. As people trickled off the bleachers, I waited for the team to arrive, and her parents passed by. I nodded and uttered their first names, only to be passed by as if I hadn't spoken anything. I laughed and stood back, allowing the mob to move. I walked to where the team exited and waited for my son, and it felt great to embrace him and chat to him in person rather than over the phone or email. Every second is a thrilling experience of seeing one another. Finally, the ex goes over to our kid and says kind things to him. I inquire about the next game, since I must depend on her for such information. The way we talk to one another is clinical. She knows we aren't good and certainly aren't pals. That message was quite apparent when I told her so the previous time she attempted to sit next to me at a game. Let's go, she says, and he gives me a huge embrace, and I tell him I love him. It's difficult to let go, but I do. I don't look at her or say goodbye as I turn and go the other way to my vehicle, despite the fact that every fiber of my being wants to jump over and grab her, kiss those lips, hold that body in my arms, and feel her warmth and that pulse I've listened to and adored for nearly a decade. Because of that, I feel little deceived by my heart, and I have to work hard to keep it in control. No tears, at least not until I come home and examine things in quiet, although they're few and few between. Even this morning, I'm still trying to figure out how to deal with these emotions. I had more wonderful dreams about her. Again, I feel as if I'm battling my own body and mind. I'm doing all in my power. I work out virtually every day. Clean eating with 1 or 2 cheat meals every week. I've immersed myself into my brother and my company, which is doing well. We've never had so many staff before, and it's fantastic to be honest. On top of being qualified for IT employment, I'm reading a lot more and learning about stocks and investing. My corgi, Jack, especially, is constantly wanting to play, and he's my other little kid, so I have to. Trying to fill the emptiness is weird. That's exactly how it feels right now. I have a huge gaping vacuum inside of me. I really enjoyed being a spouse and a parent. We were nearly pregnant with our second kid when Hurricane Harvey hit Texas, but we were safe, dry, and unaffected. Lots of wonderful, hilarious, incredibly exotic, but we knew she was pregnant by November. We eventually decided that we shouldn't have another kid due of money, space, and our existing circumstances, and we terminated. I'd begun to reflect about it, wondering whether things might have turned out differently if we were in this situation and she had someone else. Yes, I realize the what-if game is never a nice place to be, never a decent thing to do, but it's only lately risen in my head, let alone fantasies like the one I experienced last night. My lovely wife, and what may have been my daughter or our second child, and it just makes me miss my kid more. It irritates me because she refused to let me adopt him, and only after all of this nonsense happened did she agree I could. Sorry for the lengthy article. I was simply fuming and repeating last night in my thoughts. I understand that it's very early and extremely fresh after the divorce, and it hasn't even been a year since she damaged our relationship. All I can say is that I'm not feeling well today. I haven't even gotten out of bed yet, and it's already 10 a.m. I despise the fact that she has such an impact on me and how I feel every time I see her. Update 4. I finally reached a point of apathy. I'm at a loss for words other than to state that I'm consistently pleased. I'm cooking more, tasting different foods, and working out on a regular basis now. I've resumed writing and am now working on a short narrative. I went to Denver to see the Phoenix Suns defeat the Nuggets. I'm preparing to fly to Oregon to see a relative and go hiking and tubing in a new location. My bond with my kid, on the other hand, is unique. I try to contact him, but he's always busy. I'm trying my best to be understanding, but this is what it's like to have a full-fledged teenage kid, huh? A few lunches and dinners here and there. I suppose I'll take what I can get. I simply miss being around him on a daily basis. I'd begun dating someone. She's absolutely wonderful. She is self-sufficient, bright, strong, mature, owns her own businesses, and we are moving slowly. She is aware of my position, and both of us are apprehensive about moving too quickly. But it feels amazing. We have a lot in common, communication is easy, goals are obvious, and it's simply nice even when we're just hanging out. I'm trying to keep a close eye on myself in order to avoid any negative patterns or behaviors. It's simply nice to feel well again. She asked me yesterday what would happen if another man became connected with my kid, and I honestly don't know. I'll be there for him, that's all I intend to think or say. But if he doesn't reach out, it'll be up to me to sit back and hope for the best for him. In this, I have no legal rights or clout. Thankfully, I don't have any feelings for my ex, and I've seen her face to face. I'm not sure what tomorrow will bring, but I'm trying to take it one day at a time, and all I can hope is that I don't muck things up with this great lady, that my son and I can have a better connection, and that I continue to recover and find happiness, whatever that means. Thank you everyone for your help, advice, book recommendations, and encouragement. 07/05/2021 update to this update. So it was a brief period. Unfortunately, the wonderful lady was taken aback by the fact that I had divorced in April. Feels like I'm still not over my ex since I refer to our kid as our son. I only refer to him that way because we co-parent, and I have to go through her for everything involving him, and because I have a son. She also says she's struggling with a breakup with a boy she loved 3 months ago, and she recognizes she still has to recover from that. I get the healing, but I can't picture engaging someone new with my kid at this age. He'll be 14 in November, and it's strange when others tell me what I'm feeling and they're incorrect. She also does not want to be a stepmother. She has a little 4-year-old girl. I've never even mentioned it, and I'm keeping that portion of my life apart from this one. Why does this worry me? I feel marked, despite the fact that I did nothing wrong in my prior relationship. After being honest with each other and such, it's held against me because I'm divorced and have a much older child who would most likely never be a part of the relationship that we would have. It feels quite unjust. If I'm upfront and honest about my position, I'm accused of not being over my ex. I'm not being honest if I keep it to myself and don't say anything. Stay tuned for the final update.